I've got a ton of comments recently that people need to stop buying all laptops immediately because someday in the future, there could be a new Apple computer released. What is it going to look like? What is it going to be like? Who knows? And you know what? Sorry, fam. That's dumb, and here's why. What's up, everyone? I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. Yes, that's a little spicier than I generally go in the beginning of a video, because this philosophy drives me absolutely crazy. You should absolutely not wait for the new M2, A2, M1X, whatever they call it. You should not wait for those, because there is always something new around the corner. Always. Yes, that's my way of talking in all caps, because I'm going to let you in on a little secret as a project manager myself. While you are currently waiting for the mythical M2 or M1X, guess what? The M2X and the M3 are currently being actively developed, or at least they are in the prototyping phases. No, I don't have any insider information from Apple. That's just how product development works. Here is what product development isn't. We make a new laptop, and after that laptop is released, we start making a new laptop. Hey, that laptop is finished, now we start making a new laptop, and so on and so forth. Especially when you have yearly updates like Apple and other major tech companies, everything is at different stages of completion. You'll generally have an idea phase, a requirements phase, prototyping phase, limited production phase, and when everything is stable and you've got your industrial base set and you know the market and when and how you want to deliver, you'll go into full production phase, and then the laptop will actually start being delivered to people. Have you ever wondered why products that are released seem to answer requests that you had a year or more ago? Well, that's probably because the one you've got today was in that requirement phase years ago when you were making that complaint. It costs so much more money to change something the farther down in the development cycle you go, so generally, you will wait for the next one to make those changes. Okay, that long, rambling, quick lesson on product development aside, waiting because there's something else is coming is just dumb. It's just dumb. I get it. Look, I'm also excited about whatever else Apple's going to come up with this year, but here are the key reasons why you shouldn't wait. I'm going to break this down by price, market competition, and reality. First off, let's take price. Apple has a pretty well-defined set of devices. Like, they've got their pricing models locked in pretty well. The MacBook Air and Mac Mini are the entry-level products. The MacBook Pro 13 and iMac are more of the mid-range products. And the MacBook Pro 16 or 15 or MacBook Pro Large, iMac Pro and Mac Pro are the high-end products. And actually, there's probably the most amount of actual variation in that segment. So far, Apple's released the M1 MacBook Air, the M1 Mac Mini, and the MacBook Pro 13 and iMac. All of those are brand new, and all of them have the latest M1 chips. So we've seen what they've already updated. What is probably going to come out in the remainder of this year could be an updated higher-end MacBook Pro 13 or 14 if the rumors are true, MacBook Pro 16, maybe some kind of like iMac or Mac Mini Pro, and maybe a Mac Pro. You may have, just from the things that I just said, you may have noticed something about that group of computers. They are all higher end options. Again, Apple has a pretty good lock on that product pricing model. So the current base model MacBook Pro 16 comes in at $2,400. Are you looking for a laptop that costs $2,400? You might be, and that's okay. But like I said, Apple is really good at segmenting those lines. So my next assumption would be that the M1X or M2 or whatever MacBook Pro Large, because who knows what size they'll actually make if they're going to start making big changes to the sizes, that model will still probably start at the $2,400 range. That's not cheap. You can easily get a maxed out MacBook Air or current model M1 MacBook Pro 13 for either less than or around that price tag. Seriously, a maxed out MacBook Air currently retails at $2,049. That gets you 8-core CPU, 8-core GPU, 16 gigabytes RAM, and a 2 terabyte solid state drive. That's a pretty beefy machine. Sure, the design is a little more dated than what we'll probably see on an updated large MacBook, and I do think the performance will see a boost, but I don't think you'll see the kind of revolutionary change that we saw going from Intel to Apple chip MacBooks. If we do get increased RAM options, that would be pretty sweet. I can't lie. If you need more physical memory installed in your computer, the RAM would probably be the one place I would actually say, yeah, okay, wait and see what comes out next. Because there are just some things that you cannot run with 16 gigabytes of memory, no matter how fast it is. Processor speed, though, we'll probably see a few more performance cores, maybe some more ports, but I would be willing to place money that the $2,400 base model will come with an 8-core processor, 512 gigabyte solid state drive, 16 gigabytes RAM, and probably that same 8-core GPU. Money is money, and if that's what we really get for a base model, I might not recommend that and continue to recommend the smaller, cheaper options, because for what they are fantastically powerful. Mac Pros and iMac Pros, if they still exist, would get the same sort of analogy, but I'm not going to bore you by stretching out the length of this video by comparing my own thoughts on each of those potential machines. The point is, we can pretty easily guess the price, or at least the price ranges of those upcoming machines. And I don't think that based on the performance of what we have on the market right now, it might not be worth spending that much money unless you had a specific need for that power, like the memory amount issues. Okay, so we know roughly how much those are going to cost. And if I'm saying don't wait, what is on the market today that I would recommend in their stead? Well, we've got that current lineup of Apple Macs that we lightly covered earlier in this video and have heavily covered throughout the rest of my overall content. This should come as no surprise to anybody, but I actually think Apple has the best current lineup of work computers on the market. And I didn't say gaming or big memory maulers, but work computers, Apple has it on lock. For desktop, the Mac Mini is probably the best value computer ever made. You can get the 8-core M1 processor, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabyte solid state drive, all for $699, or even way less if you buy refurbished. And that's my personal daily computer because it has the most I/O of any current M1 Mac. It's completely silent, super powerful, takes up no space, and can push to dual monitors without needing some kind of accessory workaround. Look. The Mac Mini right here can basically do it all. I run my YouTube channel for my Mac Mini. I play a lot of World of Warcraft from it. I web browse. I do my spreadsheets, my tax information. I do everything from that computer. You will not find a better deal on a computer anywhere. And what's cool is that won't change when we get to the new MacBooks or if even a quote-unquote Pro Mac Mini comes out. I mean, think about this. This Mac Mini runs better than my $5,000 iMac Pro I used for years, and this model cost me like $1,200. Seriously, I cannot overstate how much the Mac Mini shakes up the market and makes it so hard to recommend other computers. If you don't want to buy a bunch of other stuff and you don't have a keyboard, mouse, monitor, stuff like that, you can get the M1 iMac, which has basically the same power as the Mac Mini, but has a 4K Retina panel built right into it, lots of Thunderbolt ports, comes with a keyboard and mouse. It's almost as small as the Mac Mini if you consider the monitor that comes with it, and it can be had for less than making a whole system out of everything else. But here's where it gets real good. If you need a laptop, we got the double whammy punch of the M1 MacBook Air, which much like the Mac Mini is easily the best value laptop on the market. Seriously. You show me another Ultrabook with an 8-core processor that has the power to keep up with legit-sized computers. Show me. Show me in the comments. Oh, and make sure that it's also totally silent and that it can be had for around $800 refurbished. I'll wait. I'll wait. Okay, one more thing. Plus, it has 18 hours of battery life, 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports. This makes it such a good option for doing both travel laptop work, but also coming home and then plugging it into a full desktop setup with just using one of the Thunderbolt 3 ports. And let's say it all together. Everybody say it together with me. That doesn't change no matter what else gets released later this year. The only thing that might change is this computer gets even cheaper. The MacBook Pro 13 is also on the market. It's much the same except slightly bigger with a full active cooling system. It's kind of like a mobile iMac. Though if you aren't totally married to the Apple system, there are some pretty decent Windows options out there too for roughly the same price as one of those bigger machines. And I don't think you should sleep on those either. Lots of machines are coming out with the new Ryzen processors like the new Asus laptops, the new HP laptops, etc. I think the big standout from the Windows world is the new Dell XPS 179710. You can get a version with an 8-core i7, 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabyte solid state drive, and a dedicated graphics card for around $2,000. For that price, you'll get a shockingly small computer, even though it actually has a 17-inch monitor, 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports, an actual SD card slot, an HDMI dongle included in the box, and probably the best thermal system that I've ever seen on one of these small portable productivity machines. When I was running those benchmarks that us tech nerds love so much, that machine doesn't really get all that warm, which for me, having a big Intel processor running full out and not overheating the laptop, that's very impressive. The 15-inch model also exists, but it's not as impressive to me. It's got an impressive spec sheet, but I find the thermal system can't quite keep up with those impressive specs. If you don't mind using a gaming laptop for work, the Asus Zephyrus G14 is one of those laptops containing an 8-core Ryzen chip, and mine has an NVIDIA 3060 graphics card, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and a 512 gigabyte solid state drive, and it's only slightly bigger than the M1 MacBook Pro. Now, because it is Ryzen and not Apple or Intel, you lose out on the Thunderbolt connections, but you do get actual I/O built into this computer with HDMI, USB-C, and USB-A built into it. because it is a gaming laptop, it doesn't have the best battery life, so you will need to keep the power brick with you at all times. But if I were going to use a gaming laptop as my work machine, this would be it. This is a surprisingly capable productivity laptop, no matter what it says in the box you get it in. There are so many other laptops I could bring up today, like the Surface Laptop 4, Dell's other computers, MSI, etc. The point here is that you don't need to wait for those new Apple computers to get a very powerful functioning computer today for less money than you might need to spend on one of those high-end machines in a few months. And finally, reality. A lot of YouTube videos, my own included, are made from the perspective that the person or people we are talking to don't have a computer and have never purchased a computer before in their lives. But that's not reality, is it? Right? It's 2021. You might have a machine from this year, last year, the year prior, and guess what? It's probably still working fantastically well. Who out there, I mean, me included, again, really needs the most cutting edge of human computer processing technology? Is it me, a product manager that works mainly in Teams and Excel? Heck no. I get my work done on one of these Macs or on my work-provided laptop with an 8th Gen Core i7. You don't need to wait for a machine because if you already have a machine, I bet you it works perfectly fine for you. Seriously, I wanted to call this reality because in reality, people working on laptops or folks watching movies or content creators or stuff like that, we have all the power we've needed for years now. I mean, there is a reason Chromebooks with almost zero power exist and sell pretty darn well. But at the end of the day, so what, right? Look, I'm as excited. I said that at the beginning. I'm as excited as the next person to see the new Apple machines, and I cannot wait to buy them and try them out here and see if they do live up to all of this crazy hype. But it is crazy hype. If you have a need for a computer today, buy what you need now. Do not wait for some kind of magical device that doesn't currently exist, or it might not exist in the way you think it will in the future. Sometimes, if you're too involved in those rumor sites, the rumor tweets, the rumor mill, sometimes the rumor mill gets it wrong, and you could be excited and planning out your technology future for something that's not going to exist. And if you are somebody that tells people in the comments to hold off on getting their machine for school, or try and make somebody feel bad for buying that device they need for teleworking, if that's your attitude, I will block you because that's not helpful to anybody in any way. And if you like this video and you do want to see why I still think the M1 MacBook Air is the best laptop ever and still worth buying, you can check that video out by clicking right here. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.